Welcome to Tuesday Night Sport, and straight away let's start what we always do at this time on a Tuesday night, open up the Iceline. Steve Nemeth here, so too is Tommy Plommer. Get your questions in nice and early to our two Iceline recipients. Steve and Tommy here with us next half an hour or so, depending on how many calls we get from you tonight. So make it a bumper one as we enter another historic day, hopefully another historic week for the Sheffield Steelers. And you know the number by now in case you're a newcomer to the Iceline and don't know. Quick refresher for you and a reminder, it's 0114-268-2222. The Iceline open now with Steve Nemeth and Tommy Plommer. Plus, football tonight, as Barnsley look to get back to winning ways, have been on a good run of form. That came to a halt against Sheffield United on Saturday. They are entertaining Millwall tonight at Oakwell, and will be with Rotherham United in their journey down to West London. They're taking on Brentford in the second division. That's Tuesday Night Sports. And we're here till 10 o'clock, so keep those calls coming in and get them in nice and early tonight, if you would, please. 0114-268-2222 as we look ahead to tomorrow night. Could be the night, hopefully will be the night, when the Sheffield Steelers will clinch their second successive league title. And once again, they'll do it against the Nottingham Panthers. Poetic justice, I suppose. 7 minutes past 7. Good evening, Steve Nemeth.
Good evening.
Good evening, Tommy Plommer.
How you doing, Bob?
Very good indeed. And this is a bit unusual of what we're going to start off here. We're going to talk about another team for a change. Steve, tell me, what do you make of what's happened to the Cardiff Devils over the past week? I suppose you, directly or indirectly, are responsible for their capitulation.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, we played really well on Wednesday, and they had two tough games up. They got to travel a long ways to Fife and also Durham, so well, hopefully we did start something for them to lose a few, and obviously hopefully the first place for ourselves, but that's in their own hands, not ours.
You can't tell me that you weren't surprised at the results of the weekend. Perhaps not so much against Durham. Tommy and I were talking about it before we came in the studio, but certainly up at Fife you would have expected them to come away from there with 2 points.
Yeah, you would think so. But like I say, it's a long road trip from Cardiff up to Fife and then play that day. And we all know how Fife can get up on you in the first 10 minutes, and they did. And big thing is they stayed with it. So, you say we're quite amazed.
Tommy, do you get the feeling that the ice hockey gods were smiling down on you last weekend after one of your least impressive performances? You get a point and Cardiff get nothing, and in fact on the night you come out with an advantage.
Yeah, I'd have to say so, Bob. Obviously, we were thinking that Cardiff would win in Fife, but on the other hand, they were thinking that we would win against Newcastle at home, and realistically, they just want to go in healthy to the playoffs, I'm sure. I think they felt that Wednesday's game against us was the be-all and end-all, and I think they probably would have went in there with their heads down a little bit, and I bet you they'd have got a surprise when they got on the bus in Fife that night and found out we had tied.
Tell me about that game, your game on Saturday night against the Newcastle Warriors. It was very hard to understand from the press gallery exactly what was going on. Are you able to put it in perspective as to what was happening on the ice? 3-0 up, seemingly cruising, and then as the game comes to its conclusion, you're 5-4 down.
Realistically, from a personal point, I can't really tell you what happened. The 3 goals, we went up playing really well, I thought, and then it kind of fell apart. I can't recall exactly, what triggered or what went wrong, and really, it's a mystery to myself, and I'm sure to a few of my teammates.
Steve, am I right in saying that the harder you as a team tried, or probably you individually tried to get back in the game and sort of right the ship, the worse it got?
Oh, yeah. So it's harder to score goals when you're under pressure and you want to try a lot. I mean, you get all the good chances, and then I think you tighten up on the stick and you bear down instead of just throwing a puck around and hitting open nets. And luckily enough, Timmy pulled out that 5th goal with all the pressure. I mean, we worked at probably the hardest we've ever worked in a long time for the last 10, 12 minutes. But those games happen. And Newcastle's, they've tied Cardiff and they've beaten Nottingham. So I mean, we can't go in there lightly. And luckily we came up with a draw.
Taking out the expletives, what did Alex and Clyde say to you after us? I know that Clyde was actually in the corridor, wasn't actually in the locker room, but I've never seen Alex, not for certainly a long time, be quite so ashen-faced as he went into the dressing room after a game.
Well, actually, Damps was pretty good about it. He obviously saw in our faces that it wasn't a case of we went out and figured, oh, well, we did our best and, we got a point. I think he saw within everybody's face in the team that we were definitely disappointed in ourselves, and I think he came in with the right attitude, and he stressed the positives. He tried to make sure that we didn't let it, obviously what happened to Cardiff, and we didn't get into a skid, that we have to pick our game up, and hopefully we'll do that tomorrow. He went about it in a proper manner that if he'd have came in and maybe started ranting and raving, heads would have been down, point fingers, whatever. It might have caused a different reaction, and I think what he did was the good thing, and he tried to stress all the positive things in the last 12 minutes, like Stevie said, that we had worked hard and that realistically we should have worked like that for the whole game, and let's make sure that we don't let it happen again.
Okay, 0114-268-2222. Your line through to Tommy Plommer and to Steve Nemeth on the Iceline tonight. If you want to put a question to them ahead of tomorrow night's game against the Nottingham Panthers, feel free to do so and get in nice and early if you would please. 11 minutes past 7. Let's get to those calls. John, you're first up tonight. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Right, a couple of questions, really. First one, I'll put the easy one first. I'm no stats freak, but would it be possible to get some software or something for the scoreboard to put the shots on goal at the end of each period? I know Dave Sims occasionally reads them out, but it is usually, more often than not he doesn't. But, and it's quite interesting to look back on, to refer back to when you fill your programming.
I'm not sure that's possible with the configuration of the scoreboard as it currently is, because I think it's an adapted basketball scoreboard, just to take on board the ice hockey. It looks like it's tagged onto the bottom. So I think that might be a little bit difficult to do. I suppose you could use the screen to put the information
in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's possible, and you'd have to set up a new program for it, but maybe that's something to look forward to for next year. I doubt if it's going to happen in the short term, but...
somebody could put that point to it.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the easy bit.
All right.
The question that I really wanted to ask, and I don't want to get the guys into trouble by commenting if it's not not really in their interest to do so, but you could probably give your comments, Bob. It's about the call that really changed the game on Saturday when the Swedish guy, Tunnel or whatever they call him, got sent off. I think that the guy in the Star, he saw it the same way as I did, that sort of changed the game round. And when a guy gets a game penalty plus a 5-minute major, and then another one gets a misconduct penalty, we ended up having a double minor and a minor, and ended up losing a power play and a goal, and it swung the game round. Now, I just wondered, I think, to be fair to John Moore, I think he sort of tried to let the game go by not calling, silly little-looking penalties or something like that. But I think that sort of thing, it seemed to change the actual complexion of the game totally, and I think whether it's just how the calls go, or whether it be just one of those things, I don't really know. I just wonder what you other guys thought about it.
Okay, so let's bring Steve in on this. It's one of the vagaries, isn't it, of ice hockey, Steve, that in fact in that situation, although they were more penalised in terms of losing a man and getting a lengthier penalty, you were penalised short-term by having less men out there on the ice.
Well, yeah, it's just we got caught in there where Tony got ran from the side, and I think then all hell broke loose there for a little bit, and I think Tony squared it out with him. But we ended up on the short side. I think Ron got a double minor there. And they were, 4-on-3, I think it was?
Yeah, that's right.
And power plays can make or break games. And that just showed what they did. I mean, they had talented players, and they moved the puck around. We worked hard, but it just wasn't good enough. And brought them basically back into the game. But that happens. I mean, I think the referee's gotten a little bit better in the last 10 games. I don't remember too many bad games now. And we used to have games like that always.
I mean, Alex actually, I think Alex, or maybe it was Clyde, actually went up to John Moore and said, well officiated tonight. Yeah. And I know there were a lot of people of a Newcastle disposition on Saturday night who were none too happy with the call that he made against the Finn, but from what I could see, and I was at the other end, and from the reaction of everybody else closer to it, it seemed like it was a right call.
Well, I think Tony made the pass, and it was a late hit. It was like a boarding a check, and I think that is a game. He could have got hurt severely if his head was turned towards the boards or something. So it was a good call, and you got to take those things as they go along. But it did hurt us in the long run.
Tom, it's a strange thing, as I was saying to Steve, though, isn't it? That it's a situation where, in fact, they are more heavily penalised in terms of minutes. They lose a man on the ice for the rest of the game. But in fact, in the short term, and it proved to almost be a crucial part of the game, you have to play short-handed for a while, and they can take that advantage.
Well, what it is they didn't try and make it as even as possible. But what happens is, what we lose is only short term, really. You have to realize that it was only the middle of the game, I think, the middle of the second period, possibly. They lose one of their better defensemen and one of their other defensemen for 10 minutes. So realistically, we should have the long-term game.
But it makes them play much harder to make up for the shortfall of not having that player. And, of course, with the additional player on the ice as well, I suppose you can look at it like a lot of football teams when they go down to 10 men, the same thing happens, isn't it? That all of a sudden everybody raises their game to make up for the shortfall of the player who's disappeared.
Quite possibly, Bob. Yeah, that's a valid point, but I think when it happened, I think the fact that it went on for a little while too possibly might have took the wind out of our sails a little bit, possibly, you know, with the lengthy delay. But from what I've heard and from what I've heard people talk about the game, it was a relatively big changing point in the game, and I didn't realize it at the time. But I'm starting to realise it as time goes on.
Thanks for your call, John. 0114 268 2222. Plenty of calls coming in tonight. Glad to see that as we look ahead to tomorrow against Nottingham and indeed the weekend against Humberside. That's going to be a night to remember. Everything goes to plan tomorrow. It'll be a festival and a real sort of fiesta night on Saturday night, and then of course the trip to Cardiff on Sunday. Then the draw for the playoffs. We'll, if we get time, talk about that a little later on in the programme. 0114 268 2222. If my memory buds serve me correctly, Dave should be next.
Yeah, good evening,
Dave.
Bob.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, mate. Good
Welcome.
evening to the lads as well. A couple of questions. First one being, do you feel that we underestimated Newcastle on Saturday night? Took them a little bit too lightly?
Steve.
Well, maybe so we might have, but I think such a big game on Wednesday night, it was tough to come back. We played also Friday night, which was hard. We played Solihull, and it wasn't really a practice or a game to get ready for a Saturday night game, so a little bit of everything, but I mean, like I say, it's tough here going on. We always have to win things at the end, and those are one of the games that every game is a league title. So,
do you feel with the challenge game it might have been scheduled a little bit earlier or a little bit better day?
No, they try to do what they can the best. I mean, we had 2 other challenge games cancelled, luckily, against Cardiff, and there's no more dates left. We're playing all these games towards the end, and we've got to make it through and then through the playoffs. But those are some of the sacrifices you have to do when we pick up players like Rob Wilson, also Jamie.
Yeah, fair enough. The other thing is, what's happening with Tony Hand of late is his level of play doesn't seem to be as good as it has been previously.
I'm going to hand that one over to Tommy. It's a hot potato, but Steve's just answered that one, so I think it's only fair that Tommy should. It's an observation I've made as well, to be fair. But Tommy plays on the ice with him and sees him in practice, sees him in the scrimmage, sees him for the sideline. So perhaps you can tell me. I mean, his rate of scoring, let's put this in perspective. I think he scored 1 goal in the last 6 games, which, compared to his form earlier in the season, Tommy, is nothing like the Tony Hand that started with the Steelers.
I didn't realise the stat, obviously, but I don't think his contribution to the team has been below par at all. I think what you have to realize is there was all the talk about a certain part of the season where people felt Kenny was sliding. But I think you have to look at the positives of what they contribute, and I think that, okay, if you guys think that Tony might have been, his form might have fell a bit, I think you have to realize that Kenny has picked his game up. So I think what they're doing for one another is taking care of it from a team perspective, and I think the results have shown that we've done very well. And I think there was this little span there where they actually got split up for a bit. And maybe it's just taking them a little time to get back together, you know. I really don't think it's an issue for any, like, problem in the future. And I think, obviously, no one can go on. Like, his rate is extraordinary. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he can produce game in, game out constantly like that for 13 years. I think, obviously, every goal scorer and pure goal scorer like himself, Stevie, Kenny, guys like that, they go through days where it doesn't go for them, but I think it's all going to turn around, and hopefully it turns around for us in the playoffs.
I mean, he's still top of the stats, and he is top of the stats by quite some way from his early season form. And I know that talking to Alex at the weekend, he did express a bit of worry, concern about a groin injury he's had, which has inhibited him a bit. Is that right?
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, he was ill a bit too of late, and we played a lot of away games, and I think the league's gotten a little bit tougher since the beginning.
Well, look at the points. I mean, you know, this time last year, I think Tony had 200 points. This year, he's got about 105 or something. So it's about half of what, and everybody's been cutting. Apart from Division 1, which seems to be twice as much as last year, the Premier Division is about half of what people got last year.
Yeah, you also got to remember, I think since the beginning of half two, I think we're running 3 lines pretty steady now. I mean, always. And then we've got big games, and the lines staying out isn't as much anymore. So that if your ice time's cut down, that's where Tony gets a lot of his points, was with the ice time. And if you don't have that, it's harder to get. I've noticed it myself, and Kenny's noticed it too. I mean, it's now you got to bear down and get those 2 or 3 chances, not like 7 or 8.
All right, but as you say, Tommy, Kenny's right back in the groove again, and 4 goals in the game last week, and 4 goals in the game the weekend before shows that he's back. I think it was, 10 goals in 3 games. It's pretty impressive stuff. Right, calls keeping coming, if you would, please. I think that made English sense, not quite, but maybe not. 01142682222. What I'm trying to say in plain speaking English is keep those calls coming into the Iceline. Steve Nemeth here, so too is Tommy Plommer. 01142682222. We're going to the football very shortly. We'll be hearing from Brentford, where we're watching the game between Brentford and Rotherham United, or rather John Baldock will be for us, and also Barnsley, who are playing tonight against Millwall at Oakwell. First, before we do all that, on the Iceline is Paul.
Good evening, Bob.
Hiya.
Good evening, Steve. Good evening, Tommy.
Good evening.
One sort of tongue-in-cheek question, really. Seeing what happened last year with the trophy, is it going to gather dust on the shelf again tomorrow evening, or are the BHA going to let us present it at the end of the game? A few rumours in the Star that said it might not be here till Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's what we hear too. That's what I've heard anyhow, rumoured.
That's the one I hear too, that they're not going to bring it up tomorrow night, just in case they think it's a wasted journey.
They don't have to bring it up, Bob. I go by it every morning.
Well, that's right. I mean, but they have to bring somebody up to present it to you. So, I mean, unless you're going to present it to yourselves, which is possible, I suppose. But
the thought has occurred.
Well, keep it in the family, you mean?
That's right. They seem to have a little difficulty finding Sheffield from Bournemouth, though.
Yeah, apparently so. Apparently so, allegedly.
That's
yes,
right. I mean, the other comment in the Star is that Nottingham seem to have wheeled out their usual excuses before we hammer them anyway, with all their injuries, suspensions, and Chuck Taylor, who I believe has been sacked.
Yeah, Chuck Taylor, well, I'm not sure. I think we have to be very careful about our wording of that. He does have a full-time job with Central TV. Yeah, just say it again for us, Paul.
Well, I thought he'd been sacked, Bob.
That's the word. Well, as I understand it, they parted company now. It depends how you want to interpret that, or read between the lines if you like. But almost certainly his commitments in the TV side of things have been a bit too much, and I think he's not been training as often as they would like. And I think I'm right in saying they're missing Neil Morgan tomorrow night from the game. I think he's out injured, so that's a couple of key players. So what you say they're wheeling out the excuses? What are they saying, Paul? Because I haven't seen anything on that.
Well, I just thought that the paper was saying there was a number injured, Chuck Taylor gone, etc., etc. I thought they might have been asking to borrow 1 or 2 of our players to make a couple of lines up.
Ooh, you're really
just winding them up,
red rag to a bull. Yes, I know. So it doesn't come back to haunt us. Thank you for your call, Paul. 01142682222. Before we move on to Roslyn and go to the football grounds, I was talking about Cardiff's problems. There's nothing compared to what's happened in Nottingham. 5 straight defeats for the Nottingham Panthers. A couple of those at home from Fortress Lower Parliament Street. Even taking on board that they have had a few injuries. That is quite a fall from grace, Steve, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You would think Nottingham, they always play hard at home, and to lose against Fife, and I think it was Newcastle, I'm sure that must have hurt him a bit. But when you have injuries and you run maybe 6 or 7 guys up forward, you only play so long after a while and try to pretend that you're going to get by, where other teams start going with 2 or 3 lines. I mean, the league has changed quite a bit in the way where you used to have 6 guys playing. Now every team's got solid 4 defensemen, and it wears down teams.
Do you get the feeling, Tommy, from when you played them this year, including the B&H Cup final, they're not quite as intense a team as they were last year? They don't seem to have the same intensity they did in the previous season.
Well, obviously they're missing, Rick Brabant and some other key players, and I think they lack that fire. But I think they might just have hit the injury spell again at the wrong time. They're key players to them. I think Ashley Tate's an up-and-coming player. Mike Blaisdell, we know his impact, and when you take key guys out of the lineup, it can have a big disruptive effect, and I don't think the age is very high in Nottingham, and quite possibly the experience isn't there from the other players to pick up the rein a little bit. I know there's Paul Adey, and I'm sure he's doing his job every night, but I don't think there's a few Paul Adeys in the team, and I think they're suffering because of the experience, possibly.
I was about to say that Paul Adey seems to come up with the goods. I mean, I think he's either 3rd or 4th highest scorer at the moment in the league overall. But perhaps some would say that they've put too much reliance upon Paul Adey, that if he doesn't fire, if he has an off night, there's nobody there to pick up the slack.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I think he's had a big burden on his shoulders, with the controversy over the summer possibly, and he's been playing a lot of games. He's been playing with the Great Britain team and things like that, and it might be adding up on Paul, because it seems like he really is. I don't want to say all they have, but a lot keys on what happens to Paul Adey on the night, and if he doesn't, score 2 or 3 goals, then possibly a few guys might be saying, who's going to pick it up from here? And I know Mike Blaisdell and other guys like that have picked it up because they wouldn't be in third spot without him. But I think it's getting too much. Like Stevie said, the league's changing, and to do it, to fake it really for a whole season is just impossible.
And also the thing I think we've seen, haven't we, Tom, with the bottom of the table, they're getting better. The teams, the bottom, apart from take Slough out of the equation, but Newcastle, Milton Keynes, Fife are obviously proving it now as well. The bottom 4 or 5 teams, who were, maybe there was a bit of a gap between the top 5 and the bottom 5 at one stage, that gap is narrowing a lot now.
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of teams have taken the possibility of that they might not make the playoffs. And possibly that's extra revenue, whatever they think, player pride. But I think the lower bottom half teams have picked it up before the trade line, brought in new players, whatever, knowing that it's going to be a fight to the end to see who makes the playoffs. Usually they can maybe coast it in, make sure they're healthy going in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. But I think they've had to fight all throughout the season from top to bottom this year. And I think that can only benefit the fans in the league.
Okay, 0114-268-2222. Rosalind, sorry to keep you hanging on. I do gas a bit when I get going, don't I? How are you?
I'm fine, Bob. How are you?
Good, not bad, thank you.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Tommy.
Hi.
Before I ask my question, just a couple of comments. First of all, last Wednesday, I was most impressed the fact that the defensive performance was kept up for the whole 60 minutes. That was really brilliant. And secondly, please, no more third periods like last Saturday. I don't think the nerves could take it again. My question is, I thought that Newcastle looked a much stronger team on Saturday than they have done previously, and I think they might sneak that final playoff place, and if they do, I think they could well be the dark horses of the playoffs. I know who I would like as the 3 other teams in my playoff group. I'd just like to ask Steve and Tommy, is there a team that they would be quite happy to have in their playoff group? And is there a team they would really like to avoid in their playoff group?
Okay, let's take them one by one. There's Steve, bearing in mind, obviously, you can't get Cardiff because they're going to be separated from you in the seeding. There's 6 other teams to pick from. Which 3 teams would you like or least like to face?
Least like? Well, they're all tough. How's that? I don't know. I mean, Nottingham's always tough to play in, too. Durham, you're looking the same. They all play hard in small rinks, so to me it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I like Fife. Fife's a good place to play, and Humberside is the other team, but we've lost to Humberside and we've lost to Nottingham, and we also tied to Durham, so to me it doesn't matter. When playoff comes, it's dog eat dog there. Okay, let me suggest a threesome for you then. Tom, how's this one grab you? Perhaps Fife and Basingstoke and Humberside? Would you be happy with that trio?
Well, you know what? I think realistically what Steve said is right. You can't really pick any that you do want anymore. But I think you'd have to probably go geography-wise. Maybe you don't want to get the Fife because of the travel. You don't want to get the London clubs because of the travel. But the problem is with us, the closer ones are the tougher ones, really. So it's pretty difficult, We just have to go in with a good attitude and carry on what we've been doing properly. And realistically, whoever we play, we should be able to make it down to London.
Hey, I'll lay a small wager with you that you get Fife. You always get Fife. Whatever draw is ever made, you get Fife.
Something about it.
Which is the journey that everybody hates the most because it seems to last for days.
I'd love that to end this year.
Oh, but I got a funny feeling. I don't know what you think, Rosalind. Do you agree with me that Fife are going to be in that draw, aren't they?
We always do get Fife. I mean, my 3, if I could choose, I would actually take Nottingham, Humberside and Basingstoke.
Would you? Because you think,
Nottingham is struggling.
Yeah.
Basingstoke we haven't had too many problems with.
Yeah.
And the Hawks can be so erratic.
Mm.
On Newcastle, I think is tough. Durham is going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, no, those would be my ones.
Yes, Newcastle and Durham are probably the form teams right now.
Yes, definitely.
Durham are very hard to beat in their building because of
and they've got Brabant back, who they didn't have last time.
And Ross Lambert, of course, is back as well. He scored. It's rather ironic that he did the Steelers a favour at the weekend by scoring the winning goal against the Cardiff Devils on Sunday night, his second. So we'll have to see, but I'm waiting for the draw on Sunday night, and I will not be in the least bit surprised if the first game on the first Saturday in the playoffs isn't in Kirkcaldy.
Oh, well, we got good luck.
You got good luck.
Remember, last 2 years we played and we've also ended up in Wembley.
I seem to remember a certain Tommy Plommer scoring a winning goal up there a couple of seasons back now, was it?
It's been a long time now.
Well, I think we will remember it because I think there's still an indentation of where Dave Sims hit the roof. I think there's still the little head mark where he actually headbutted the roof of the commentary box. One nice thing for us about Fife is we actually get a commentary box to do things in, and I think we both leapt, because that 2 years ago, if I remember rightly, that was the crucial game. You had to win that game because it was getting so tight.
Yeah. And to make it to Wembley for the first time, obviously what happened didn't turn out the best, but to get there was a good experience, and to be able to be part of getting there, it's something I won't forget.
All right, keep those calls coming. I'm sure you will. It's a busy night on the Iceline. I'm glad to see that. 01142682222. Hazel is next, so we will be to you very shortly, Hazel. And your calls as well, if you'd like to add your name to the list. We've heard from John, Dave, Paul and Rosalind. It could be you after Hazel. 01142682222. Just a brief break from the ice hockey as we look at our two football matches for tonight, specifically starting off with the game at Oakwell. And Barnsley have a bit of reparation to do after dropping 3 points at the weekend. They're up against a team who've had a bit of an in-and-out time of late. A new manager in charge. I wonder what Alan Biggs makes of Barnsley against Millwall. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening. I think it should be an entertaining game, as most games tend to be at Oakwell. I always enjoy coming here, and the Barnsley team under Danny Wilson always attempt to play good football, and normally they have an excellent service to perform on, as indeed is the case this evening, with Oakwell for this time of the season looking in excellent shape. Just a few divots, noticeable centre field, but in the main it's flat, it's plenty of grass on it, and there's going to be a frost on it too, I think, by the end of the night at Oakwell. It's going to be a cold night, but that's not going to affect us too much. Barnsley versus Millwall. Barnsley looking to get back to winning ways tonight. Their first defeat in 9 matches coming against Sheffield United at Bramall Lane on Saturday, and I'm sure that supporters will be most interested to know whether or not the new striker Dave Regis from Notts County will make his full debut tonight. Well, the answer is he still kept waiting. He came on from the bench at Bramall Lane. He again starts from the bench tonight. There's one change in the Barnsley starting lineup that's forced on Danny Wilson, with Steve Davis out through suspension. Owen Archdeacon comes in, and we're just pondering here whether or not Danny Wilson will have to make a tactical switch with Davis, the strong man at the middle of defence, out. Normally he plays as one of 3 centre-backs alongside Peter Shirtliff and Ariane Dazou. Archdeacon, of course, is not a centre-back, not normally a defender. He's normally midfield, wide, and so it'll be interesting to see how Danny Wilson plays this one tonight. I'm sure that normally you wouldn't want to depart from what is a tried and trusted system. Barnsley going pretty well, still with the route to the playoffs well and truly wide open. I was talking to Danny Wilson yesterday about Dave Regis, who comes in here at the age of 31, perhaps not a big name striker. He's been around. He's a big name, maybe more to do with famous relatives like Cyril and John. But Danny Wilson's got great confidence in him. He even thinks, set him a target at least of scoring 10 goals between now and the end of the season. There's just 15 matches left. He'll have to go some, but he's a very strong, very quick player, always looks dangerous, and Danny primarily tonight is looking for Regis's presence on the bench to spark off Andy Payton and Andy Liddell, the first choice strikers, who keep their places at least in the starting lineup this evening against a Millwall side who've been a bit of an enigma this season. They started exceptionally well. They slumped off alarmingly. That was even before Mick McCarthy's departure to become Republic of Ireland manager, and now looking to pick up the pieces again under Jimmy Nicholl. So that's the action here. Bill Burns of Scarborough is the referee. I saw him on Saturday refereeing Derby County against Portsmouth, and he got some flack from both managers, which I thought was most unfair. He let the game flow. He applied a very common sense approach on what was a quagmire of a pitch at the baseball ground, and I thought due credit to him for the kind of spectacle that emerged, and yet both Terry Fenwick and Jim Smith weren't impressed. I shall be impressed if he lets this game flow tonight as well as he did the one on Saturday. Barnsley against Millwall at 7:45.
Your direct line to the Sheffield Steelers is open. Call the Radio Sheffield Iceline now on 0114 268 2222.
Thank you, Alan. 10 minutes away from kick-off it is. We'll hear from Brentford against Rotherham, hopefully in due course. That game also underway at Griffin Park at 7:15. Back to the Iceline, 0114 268 2222. Tommy Plommer and Steve Nemeth in the hot seats tonight talking to you. Hazel, it's your turn. You thought you'd never get on, didn't you?
Good evening.
Hello.
I hope you're paying this phone bill, actually.
I hope we are,
too. A long time.
Go on, then.
It's not a particular question to either Tommy or Steve. It's an observation, really. I think any Steelers supporter, I mean, I've been a season ticket holder for a couple of years and a supporter for 3. I think you get quite used to really having to face the criticism. On the one side, the Steelers have got where they are because of money, inputs and facilities. That's a regular criticism I hear. And then if the Steelers are having a bad spell, losing a few games, it's, well, look, you've got all of this, and you still can't do the business. So I do feel that we can't win whatever happens. But I think it's about time, really, to say it loud and to say it proud, you know. The Steelers have got where they are because they've done the business when it mattered. And I think really what sort of nudged me into ringing you tonight was a tiny column in one of the daily papers. The writer of the column isn't mentioned, and the heading just says, Cardiff surrender title hope.
Which newspaper?
The Times.
So this is Norman de Mosquito.
Well, I didn't want to say that,
Go on,
even though I
then.
knew
You've
it was
said it.
him, but good on Norman.
I've said it.
Cardiff didn't surrender anything. The Steelers beat them fair and square in a damn good game of hockey. And, you know, if Norman can't say it,
He wasn't there. He wasn't there. He wasn't at the game. So he's talking out of his rectum again.
I just wish, you know, that people would give us credit. I'm saying us, I mean, not me, but I just wish people would give the Steelers credit for what they are doing. And it just seems to me, looking at the ice hockey magazines and the letters that are in week in, week out, that it seems to really hurt people to say anything nice about the club. If you're not a supporter, and I find that very sad, really, because I think the Steelers have brought a great family sport to Sheffield, which is thriving.
I think I ought to parade him around the concourse at Wembley and just point him out to all Steelers fans. Could be a bit like what they do to the Bulls in Pamplona. There would be very much of him left by the end of the weekend. The man's a disgrace.
Mr. Happy.
And also, I'd like to say, you know, that I don't just support the Sheffield Steelers because they are on a winning streak. I mean, I was at Wembley when we were beaten 12-1, and I did stay to the very bitter end, and I waved at all the lads, and I didn't disappear 5 minutes before the end. I added that for any Nottingham fans that are listening.
There's quite a few of them, I can tell you, because I can hear us in Nottingham.
And I just wanted to say, really, to all of the lads, whatever the outcome at Wembley, that, you know, I've been a supporter for 3 years, and it's been a wonderful 3 years, and I just wish you all the best.
Playoffs haven't started yet.
Got a ways to go yet. Thank you, Hazel, for your call. And I just get very annoyed. In fact, that was mild to what I could say and have said to him in the past. I just think it's, you know, when people should be talking the sport up and giving it a much rosier perspective, people should be harking on and heartening by the fact that there were 16,000 people at Manchester last Wednesday night. There were nearly 10,000 people at the Sheffield Arena. 2 ice hockey matches in this country on the same night attracted 26,000 people.
Yeah, but this is a family show, Bob. You can't be saying things like that.
Well, I just did, Tom. And
you've got about however many hundred mothers getting out the dictionary to explain what that means to their children.
That was a clean version, though. It could have been much worse than that.
They
Martin
would have understood that, probably.
Probably not. Martin, I bet you understood it, didn't you?
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good. You're through.
We've had a chat about the match tomorrow night, but we don't seem to have mentioned too much about the real big match, which is on Thursday, which is Sheffield Steelers versus Action Steelers at wheelchair basketball.
Oh, yes, we'll go on, Martin.
Now, what I want to know is whether Tommy and Steve have ever played wheelchair basketball before and how they fancy the chances against the European champions.
Well, Tommy's a man for all seasons and every occasion. I imagine if you put a basketball in his hand, he'd look a bit like Magic Johnson.
I don't mind basketball, but, you know, I think it's going to be no contest with the wheelchair basketball. I don't think the boys are going to do very well, but I'm glad to see that the boys are going to make it out and, you know, go out and make some money for charity. But I think realistically it's going to be no contest. And myself and Steve personally, I don't think we'll be playing, but I know that there's quite a few of the guys that will be playing.
You'll be encouraging for the touchline, Steve, will you?
Well, I'm not sure. We're not on that. I think just for my arm's sake, I can't move that wheelchair.
No slam dunks from you, then?
No.
If I get any lower, like, I'll have to, like, use what Neely says is a gutty.
There are.
The basketball from that low.
There's a couple of Sheffield Sharks players who are actually smaller than you. One guy's 5'4", and he manages to get by. So.
Wow, jeez, all the best to them. I've seen them on TV in the past, and I know that they got great skill. And you know, it's tough to play basketball for a lot of players when they're running. It's going to be even harder to work that out.
What are you going to say, Martin, before we move on?
No, I just hope that there'll be a good turnout. It's a charity event, and I think that anyone that's never seen wheelchair basketball will be amazed at the skill and the excitement of the game.
I do agree.
It's very similar to ice hockey, and it's a really enjoyable game to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of skill shown, and realistically, I think the boys are going to be in for a fight when they get in there. they'll know exactly how much skill's involved.
Yeah.
All right, Martin, thank you very much indeed for your call. 01142682222. Your line through to the Sheffield Steelers. Tommy Plommer is here. And Steve Nemeth, the founder member of the Normandy Mosquito Appreciation Society. Eric, it's your turn.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good. Who would you like to speak to?
Well, both of them, really. I mean,
okay. Two for the price of one. Here they are.
Yeah, it's just... All right, lads.
How are you?
It's just about tomorrow night, really, about Nottingham. I know they're running a bit low on players at the moment with injuries and what have you. And I'm just thinking about Nottingham of old. And I'm expecting them coming out with cheap shots, trying to get the lads in trouble, you know, fighting. And I just wondered, why don't we ever send Perry out or Neil Abel or Scott Eaton out to sort them out? Why is it, you know, we always seem to get our top lads off the ice and keep their own on the ice. I just wondered if, you know, why we just don't send them out, basically.
No, I don't know. I don't know that question. I have to ask Alex that one.
Yeah, I think realistically they're two bad losers have left the team this year anyway. So I don't think they have that instinct within them anymore. Other than that, on our point of view, from a personal standpoint, from our team, you'd have to ask Alex. I don't think, realistically, you know, morally, I don't think it's correct. And I think we have two moral coaches who, you know, if the need arises, I know they're not shy, but I don't think the needs arise this year, and I don't think it's going to arise tomorrow night.
I know it's nice to come out knowing that we've beat somebody fair and square just by playing good hockey, and not having to, you know, result to the same type of play that they do. But as a fan sat up in the seats watching, you know, my team getting knocked all over the ice, you know, when you know that, like, some of the best hitters in the league are sat on the bench, not being able to do anything, you know. It's like on Saturday night, I mean, with Lars Tunnel, when we sat down to the game, before it started, I said to my wife, you know, watch out for number 25, because in Newcastle, he came out with some cheap shots, you know, trying it on. I know when Tommy went anywhere near him, he took a dive and Tommy took 2 minutes in the box. And like, he didn't even touch him, you know. So I told her to watch out for him. And sure enough, he proved me right at the end of the night. You know, and I just think, you know, we ought to have sent somebody out and, you know, if that's how he wants to play, let's send somebody out and bang his head about, basically. That's how I, you know, feel about it, you know. But it's just something we never do.
I think it's difficult, too, because I think you have to realize that even if you do go as far as to send someone out, it really takes two. And I would have thought that seeing Perry or seeing Scott Heaton or Neil or Rob or any of those guys, I don't think he would have gotten involved anyway. So I think it would have caused a cheap shot on our part to get things started. And I don't think that's really what the game needs. I think it's if two guys are willing, then by all means, but it's difficult to get involved if the other guy's not willing.
Thank you, Eric, for your call, and we've got a few more calls coming through, so keep them coming. We'll cram as many in as we can before we release the boys before 8 o'clock. 01142682222. We'll get down to talking about tomorrow night and indeed the weekend to come and indeed the playoffs if we have time. But David, you take pride of place. Welcome to the programme.
Good evening, Bob.
Hiya.
It's not really a question, it's more of an observation. And I don't think the boys will be able to answer it.
Oh, okay.
It's the situation with Wayne Cowley and Martin Mackay. I don't feel good, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who feel the same, where we've got the number one netminder sat on the bench because we're rotating the netminders. And it just doesn't seem right that we should be doing that.
Why?
Why not? Because if all these Steelers advertisements, everything here, it's not the playing, it's the winning that counts and everything else. And on Saturday, Martin Mackay, no disrespect to him, the obligatory 2 goals between the pads. And I feel if Wayne Cowley had been playing on Saturday, would have come out winners.
You can't always tell that.
Well, you can't always tell that, but we've been watching it. We've been watching Martin Mackay for a couple of seasons now, and he always seems to let a couple through there. And at the moment, Cowley's not doing that.
No, but it goes in fits and starts with netminders, isn't it? You're saying that Wayne Cowley should play every game and that Marty should sit on the sidelines. He's not going to hang around too long if that's the case, is he?
Well, you know, what do we do when we get to Wembley? If we get to Wembley, who do we play in the semi, or do we play in the final? I mean, do we play Cowley in the semi in the hope that we get to the final, or do we play Mackay in the semi and possibly not get to the final?
Well, it depends who's hot on the night. It doesn't all come down to the goaltending, does it?
It's a big factor, Bob, as well, you know.
Yes, it is a big factor, but it's not just the sole reason whether you'd progress or not.
Well, I feel that if we've got the hottest netminder, we should be playing him.
All right. Okay. Anything else to add?
Well, all I can say is, when they played Cardiff, I thought the team were absolutely fantastic. I think everybody walked out the arena 10 foot tall. And let's hope we feel the same tomorrow. I'm sure we will.
Okay, David, thank you very much indeed for your call and an interesting observation about that minding. You're quite right, neither Tommy nor Steve can... Well, they could make a comment on it. I shouldn't think I can give you the opportunity to comment if you'd like, gentlemen, but I think it puts you in a rather invidious position, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Bob.
Okay. Steve?
Sure.
Good, fine, okay. He lets you know that one pretty nicely, doesn't it? A couple of calls coming through, and we'll get to those in just a moment. Let's talk about tomorrow night, though. Nottingham have nothing to gain from the game, I mean, really, from their point of view, apart from getting a win under their belt, which would be nice, I suppose, after all this time. There has been, as you've heard from the calls tonight, a view expressed, they might just go out to spoil the evening, to spoil your party. Are you prepared for that, Steve, if they do that?
Well, we're always prepared with Nottingham. I mean, every time we played them, we have to put the helmets on tight and big elbow pads on because we're expected that slashing and whatever else. But we're not going to let them do whatever. Hopefully the referee will be good enough to protect us in that way of the game, and we don't have to send out goons or start hurting guys. But it'll be an interesting game. We're prepared. We want to win. We want to get that cup right away. I mean, the sooner the better.
What about the possibility, or perhaps the inevitability, some might say, if they do go out to play what you might call a Nottingham game of old, a Nottingham game of last year, to suck you into that you might just, and the sort of the game plan and what you normally stick to so rigidly and do so well, might just go by the by?
No. No. They don't got it. They don't have it. Whatever. I don't think if they wanted to play rough and tumble, I don't think they have the ability. I think that we are so evenly balanced that realistically, even if they wanted to fight 2, 3, 4 guys, when you lose 4 in a row, geez, you want to hide. I can't see them doing that.
Now, last year you won the league title at Nottingham against the Nottingham Panthers. Steve, I'll ask both of you this, but you first. How important is it when you look at the rivalry and the sort of the intensity that has been between the two teams over the couple of years that you've been playing against each other in the Premier? How important is it that you win this title against the Nottingham Panthers again?
I don't look at it as winning against them. I mean, there's 2 things up right now, and that's obviously the league, but the second thing is I think we're going for that 50-game winning streak. So, I mean, if it's against Nottingham, Cardiff, and we were put together against last week against Cardiff, win or die there. Now we're in the same position with a little bit more enticing, saying the league's right there. So, and Nottingham's, they picked that team. Well, it's too bad. I mean, if it's 2 years in a row, hopefully it'll happen just like last year.
And Tom, to have that nice buffer, you need 1 point from 3 games. I'm sure you're not looking at it like that. All over and done with tomorrow night, signed, sealed and delivered, the tin lid put on the trophy for another year?
I think definitely that's how you have to look at it. We have to look at, when we start the league, we look at maintaining a B&H Cup, then you go on, you want to maintain and win the league. We have to take care of business, get the league won, and then concentrate our efforts on the Wembley. I don't like to harp, but you can't really talk about Wembley till after the league and after the playoffs have begun. And like Stevie said, we don't really have a personal choice whether it's Nottingham or Cardiff. I think realistically, to win the league, you have to play consistent over the whole period of the schedule, and you have to play well against every team. And I think we've done that. And I wouldn't say it's unfortunate that we have to do it against Nottingham or whatever. You know, that's the way it worked out. I think realistically, the people who organize the league schedule, if anything, it looks bad on them, because it seems like they try and make sure that we got a tough little schedule at the last weekend. Maybe we're going to drop it at the last hurdle. And again, we've denied them. So who knows? All we have to do is make sure that we maintain our standard of hockey tomorrow night, and we'll go and win the league.
Just dust down your phrase book again, because it'll be Europe once you get through tomorrow night as well, which is good to hear. Another trip to some far-flung part of Europe, no doubt. Are you coming with us, David?
No, Bob, I won't be doing that.
No, what a shame. Will you be there tomorrow night?
I will, and I'll be there on Saturday night as well.
Good, glad to hear it.
Evening, Tommy, Steve.
Evening, good evening.
Congratulations on last Wednesday night's performance. It was a brilliant game. Saturday, we'll just let that go. What I'd like to see is, Saturday, we're a bit disappointed to see Shoods on the front line. No disrespect to Alec, but Ron's strength is coming from the back up to the blue line. I would prefer it if we had Chris on the line with, say, Steve and Scott. And maybe let's have Nicky on the front line with Kenny and Tony to give us a bit of physical presence, which I think we'll need tomorrow night. Tommy seems to think that Nottingham will have nobody, but I seem to think Fat Boy Hunt will be going out of his way to cause a bit of trouble, which he normally does. He's not frightened to put himself about or get in the way.
No, he plays a physical game, but I don't think it's in essence to cause trouble. I think it's just his style of play.
Well, I've got the video of the game you won last season at Nottingham, and I can remember when he skated across and pulled Les Millie down to the ice. I wouldn't say that was sportsmanship. Mario Ballinger were already there with Les Millie, but Fat Boy had to have a go. So I think myself, he'll be out tomorrow night to try and cause a bit of bother. And like I say, I'd like to see Shoods on defence. Do you have any idea why Alec keeps chopping and changing the lines?
I don't know about chopping and changing, but I think obviously he has a luxury in the sense that he has a lot of good quality defensemen. And I think personal choice, I think probably both Ron and Chris would choose to play defense. But I think that he feels out of the defensemen. We have a few slots in the forward position that are a little vacant. And I think realistically they're the best
to put
forwards at defense. And I think it's not a choice. You know, he doesn't think that Ron and Chris are better at forward than defense. It's that it's better to have your quality players in the lineup wherever you can, rather than maybe going with 8 defensemen. You go with 6, and then you play them at forward, and then you keep it properly balanced. I think it's a difficult choice, and he has a difficult job, but I can't explain it any different, I don't think.
Well, what I did like to see was David Longstaff in the line with you, Tommy, and Chris. I thought, and Tim. I thought that was quite a good line. Play quite well together. David's quite a good player.
I'd have to agree, definitely. He's probably taken some time to settle in with the adjustment to coming to Sheffield and with the traveling that he has to do. But I don't think anybody can question his ability and that he is a quality hockey player. And it's a privilege to me always to play with Cranny, but to play with David also, and I hope that I can contribute tomorrow night.
David, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to move on for reasons that will become apparent. Good evening, Trevor.
Good evening to you.
And where are you?
How are you?
I'm very well
I'm
indeed.
in the United Arab Emirates at the moment.
Well, welcome from Saudi Arabia.
It's about 5 to 12 at the moment. But
well, thank you for staying up for us.
Is that the cricket?
Yes, I have. Unfortunately, I've been exiled here for about a fortnight, and I've missed the Cardiff game, and I shall be coming back home on the night you play Cardiff again. So I'm sorry to be missing all the fun there, but first of all, congratulations over the Cardiff match. It was a surprise to me when I heard the Newcastle result, and I wondered whether I could get the guys' views on whether there was any complacency there, or whether Newcastle are really indeed a sound bet for the playoffs.
Well, we've been discussing it over the show, and I think obviously they have improved. What as to what happened on Saturday night, obviously, no excuses. I think the fact that we played a lackluster Friday night and took it easy might have had an effect. Maybe we went too far down to be picking it up again on the Saturday night. Who knows? But realistically, no excuses. I think that for them to score 5 goals against us proves that they're definitely going to challenge for a playoff spot.
Yeah, you see, I think Newcastle and Durham have improved tremendously now, haven't they? And I think the playoffs are going to be harder than actually winning the league. What do you think to that?
Well, I agree with that. I think the playoffs, it's going to be like a knockout. And on a given night, if a team's playing really well and has good goaltending, could go on right to Wembley. And we're fortunate enough to have 3 lines and 2 good goalies and 6 defensemen. So I think if we put together games like we have against Cardiff and Nottingham for in the last bit here, I don't think we're up to any problems. It just comes down to how hard we want it, and I think the refereeing will be one big issue. And number one thing in playoffs I've always thought was goaltending.
Yeah.
All right, Trevor, thank you very much indeed. We appreciate your call from the United Arab Emirates, something I've been having difficulty saying all the way through the World Cup, but nice to hear from you from that far-flung part of the world. 3 minutes to wait, 2 more if we are quick, and Julie, you will be the first of those 2. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I've got a couple of questions that I'd like to ask, but I'd like to come back to that gentleman, if I can, who talked about the Wayne Carroll and Martin McKay thing.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say to the gentleman that he shouldn't be so disrespectful to Martin McKay. He's done a fantastic job for the Sheffield Steelers last year and this year, and he deserves a little bit more loyalty than that from the gentleman and, the rest of the fans who got the same opinion. And, the Newcastle thing came down to a team effort, and it wasn't just Marty that failed. It was the team that, needed to pick up the game in the third period. I'd just like to congratulate the team as well on the Cardiff game. It sort of showed who really deserved to be number 1 in the league. I'm wondering if the Steelers can tell me, if Tommy or Steve can sort of say if they've heard anything on our entry into the European League.
Okay, Steve, anything about the European League? This is aside from the European Cup. We're talking about the European League here.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Nope.
I'm in the dark.
Right, okay, that answers that one pretty quickly then. Julie, anything else?
Yeah, I just got a sort of bit of a tongue-in-cheek one, really, for any Panthers fans that are out there. If they could sort of ring in and say how they feel about losing the second league to the Steelers again.
Ooh, you do like rubbing salt in the wound, don't you? Thank you very much, Julie. I have to move on because I want to get one more. I might get 2 in if we're quick. Terry, if you're pretty brief, I can get another call in. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm fine, thanks. It's a question to Thomas.
And here he is.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Terry.
I wanted to know how far your dad's got his bags packed for Wembley. I know he'll be on the phone after tomorrow's night's results, wanting to know what we've done. And I'd just like to express an opinion from a lot of fans that we would like to see him at Wembley. I just wondered how far he is to get in here.
Well, I think, all year he's been working on his backstroke, and I think he's about halfway across right now. And if I don't speak to him on the mobile pretty soon, then I'll send out the ships. But I think realistically, I'd like to get to Wembley before my dad. And if we do, in fact, get to Wembley, then,
Oh, he's got to be there. He's our lucky mascot.
Well...
He's got to walk around the concourse. He's got to be there, Tommy's dad.
Are you going to pay his airfare then, Terry?
I would like to think that, it had a lot to do with the team and not so much to do with my father, but no disrespect to him. They had made their plans beforehand, and I was very fortunate for them to witness.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans, if we could, would like to get him here.
I'm sure they would, Terry. Thank you for your call. Thanks to everybody who called tonight for a bumper Iceline. And good luck tomorrow night. Not that you need it, but hopefully that point's in the bag. And this time tomorrow night we're getting ready for celebrations. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tommy. Have a good Tuesday night. And back with the Iceline same time next week.